Welcome back to the Boston Chris podcast. And if you're new, I would love to earn your subscription or follow with this brand new episode featuring Crow and Gazelle. The very first time for either one of these incredible artists to be on our show. Chrislyn Lawrence and Mike McClure are the artists behind the Crow and Gazelle project, aka band, and we're so stoked to tell their story today. And what a conversation we had with these two people today. I really hope you guys will delve deep into this candid conversation with Chrislyn and Mike as we talk about so much, including internal voices is a real big part of this episode. And I think you guys will really get a lot of insight from these two people on kind of how you speak things into existence, how you can point out the ugly to each other, but also the pretty. And that's why we call this episode Pointing Out the Pretty. Of course, I would love for you guys to hit the like button if you're enjoying this content today in this episode. If you'd like to see more candid, in-depth conversations like this one in the future, you can hit subscribe or follow. And I would love for you guys to comment down below your very favorite part of this episode. Without further ado, I cannot do this justice by myself. This is one of my favorite conversations ever on this show. And I hope you guys will unpack it with me as we sit and chat with the one and only Crow and Gazelle.
It's time to jam. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. It's time to jam. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. Until we all lose connection.
Hey, this is Gary Nicholson. Thanks for tuning in to the Boston Chris
Yo.
Show.
Guys, It is Crow and Gazelle week here on the Boston Chris Show, and man, what a treat this is, because I got to keep it real. Obviously, I've been a fan of Mike's forever, but I saw y'all's, I think y'all did like a video or something at Hotel Turkey last year, or maybe the year before.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned about this project, and I've been in love with y'all ever since. And it's just such a cool vibe y'all are putting out there. And
Well, thank you. You know, we try to it's just what happens naturally when we get synced up together. And, you know, it's just a matter of trying to come together every time. You know?
Yeah, sure. Well, the first song I've chosen is called Free to Fly. Can you guys tell us about this song?
Yeah, this one, I started writing this. I had a chorus. I think I was writing it on the piano. And, you know, in the chorus, it's everything we own's outside in boxes. It's like the circus when they bring the big top down. It's hard to tell if we're coming or we're going, if we're flying or just falling to the ground. And it talks about being held by someone, but you're still free to fly. And that's really uncommon in relationships. And
God, is it ever? Yeah.
Yeah, we're super grateful for that. And we work on that a lot. But I'd written one verse in that chorus, and I was just like, I don't know. Or maybe I'd just written the chorus.
It was the chorus, really.
Yeah.
And it was so, I think when he had written it, we had not been in the house we live in very long, and we had already moved 2 other times since
we'd been in
together.
it long enough to unpack some boxes.
Yeah, but anyway,
so
there was so much truth to that. But yeah, he had that, and I just the melody and that imagery of all these things, and that it was there, and we were working on our debut album, and we had all these amazing songs. Some we had written together, a couple that were old Mac songs that we had just kind of rebranded, and then there was this song that I just was like, I would just like go and put it, and I'd be like, why don't you try to, because
and nothing frustrates me more than somebody pushing something on me like
no. Because in our relationship, an interesting dynamic of our writing, because now we write together, now the floodgates open and it's pretty much daily. Especially early on, I was so lacked confidence. There's lots of things. Even though I'd always been a writer, not a songwriter, and to work with someone who had been doing it for so long at the caliber and the proficiency and the beauty, it was intimidating. But I had this feeling about this song, and so I play the ukulele a little, but it's not like I could take it and go, oh, I'm going to work on it. I needed him. And so that adds to this extra level of probably frustration on his part, because I'd be like, no, no, no. But finally he stuck with it enough, and I was like, there is something. This was like a week before we went in the studio. I was like, he finally understood. I just was like, we are supposed to finish this song. This is our story. It's almost like this is the beginning. Like, we have to finish this to open the next chapter, I think. And so he wrote the part of the song, because it's kind of a duet. He wrote his lines to me, and I wrote my lines to him. And it's just about our coming together, because we'd known each other for about 20 years before we started dating as friends, and I had been his booking agent. And there was a kindredness there that was just undeniable. And it wasn't about it being this romantic entirely thing. It was just truly two souls, two humans who had a contract of some sort together, you know, and thankfully we've been able to walk that out now in our lives. And so, yeah, that song Free to Fly is very much our story, I guess.
I love it. Yeah, and you mentioned the word imagery, and I definitely want to unpack that word a little bit more in y'all's creative side later, because it's very, very prominent in y'all's songwriting, and I'm so excited to chat with y'all about imagery. I love how you guys are talking about the marital aspect of this song, and how the freedom doesn't necessarily need to be a permanent separation. It's just part of that growth process in a healthy relationship, the way it's supposed to be, where you can feel comfortable to have a little bit of separation from that person and know that that person's still going to be there. And that is a healthy relationship. I am also very blessed to be in that kind of relationship with my wife as well. We understand that separation in personal space and time is important, and that's why I love this song, and I figured it was very biographical for y'all. So I thought it would be a good start to the interview.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool, Chris.
Yeah. So, I'm going to show you guys a song. It is Free to Fly. It's completely live. Y'all check it out.
All I knew is that I felt good around you. I felt that way every single time. You were always more than someone special. You were more than just a friend of mine. I was out there drifting through the twilight, out there in that ether afterglow. Then you came and hit me like a spotlight, shined it on the dark night of my soul. Not everything we own's outside boxes, like the circus when they bring the big top down. And it's hard to tell if we're coming or we're going, if we're flying or falling to the ground. But how lovely not to lie, not to ride, not to hide, to be seen and to be held, to still be free, oh, free to fly.
I thought your chest was full of diamonds, high on the vine without a stone to throw, coming undone out there playing Elvis. But I saw through that into your heart of gold.
the circus when they bring the big top down. And it's hard to tell if we're coming or we're going, if we're flying or just falling to the ground. Oh, how lovely not to lie, not to run, oh, not to hide, to be seen and to be held, still be free, oh, free to fly, free to fly, to be held, still free to fly, free to fly, to be held, still free to fly.
It out. All right, so we are back with Crow and Gazelle. Again, I love the name as well, and of course, I do know the genesis story behind the name and why y'all chose it. But in case there's people out there that may not know, I have to have y'all tell the story. So, where did Crow and Gazelle come from?
I went down to see her. She was living in Austin, and we started hanging out again in 2018. And I went down, and we were at her house just hanging out, and she had this tarot deck of animal spirit cards.
Yeah.
And so we passed them around and drew cards, and that's what I drew, the crow. And you know, I really loved that because I've got 4 or 5 songs about crows, you know, and it's just,
So it was like definitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made sense.
and my logic is pretty circular, you know. She's like straightforward like a gazelle. She drew a gazelle,
Mhm.
and her path in her head is just straight shot forward, and mine's real meandering. And you know, I won't be talking about what she's talking about, but we'll meet back up.
Yeah.
And it just felt good, and we left those cards laying out for a while, and just through looking at them, and then I was thinking, Crow and Gazelle is a cool name. Sounds like some sort of boutique shop or something.
And we which, by the way, wait, move your head that way. Our friend Susan Susan Gibson painted that for us.
Oh
this
my
summer.
gosh, man, she is so prevalent
the
on this
greatest?
show, man.
She's the greatest. So yeah, we went up to see her in Montana, and she had that waiting for us, like as a marker for how to pull off the road to her house. It was amazing. And then anyway, we got it back. But yeah, to add to that, we had and at that time I was like in between places in Austin, so it was so this moment, even though that was 4 years before there ever was a band,
Right.
it was just like, oh, and so I didn't have actually didn't have a home at that time. I was house sitting when he came. So I would keep those cards together in my other little things that were like my altar, and I kept them all wrapped up in my great grandmother's scarf and carried them around forever. And when I moved to Oklahoma in 2019, and then we put them back on the altar, and then when he did his last solo album in 2020, we co-produced it. And when you're entering everything on the CD jacket or TuneCore, and you have to say who it's produced by, and just as a I think almost as a laugh, he was like, we should just put Crow and Gazelle. And that was kind of this other beginning for us.
I forgot about that.
It was like another door we opened, and then Crow and Gazelle became something besides just this little inside joke. And then when we started writing together, it's becoming something. There's his Mike McClure part and everything that carries, which is equally good, and sometimes feels, like the past, I guess, which can be good and not good. And it's like, how do we go into the world as Crow and as us if the name says Mike McClure? and anybody expect anything other than Mike McClure. And so he's the, he was like, why don't we just use Crow and Gazelle? And I'm like, ooh, that
Absolutely
feels
brilliant. It's absolutely
amazing.
brilliant. Yeah.
And neither one of us, I've always been a behind the scenes in the, I don't need my name on something, honestly. I like the idea. I like ambiguity sometimes, and I believe, frankly, that animals, other creatures, our green kingdom and other creatures have just as much holiness and sacredness as we do. So Crow and Gazelle, it just makes sense. Yeah.
I love it so much. I'm going to try to. Are you guys familiar with gaming at all?
Gaming?
I'm
Yeah.
not. Him a
Well,
little more.
What kind?
Okay. Have you ever heard of Diablo, Mike?
No.
Okay.
Just
So Diablo
the
is
word.
kind of like a role playing game where, like, you're essentially it's a looter kind of game where you're trying to get better armor, better equipment, better weapons, things like that. And you're leveling up your character, and then it's also an online game. So, like, if you're level 70 and a new player comes on to your team, that new player is going to be level 1, but you're playing level 70 monsters. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Chrislyn brought something to my attention that I want to unpack a little bit, and that is kind of co-writing with you, Mike, who's been in the business. You've been doing it forever. She's done it well as well. She's a writer, but maybe not on your level. So you're kind of like that level 70 player where she's coming in as a level 1, having to learn really, really quickly and probably fail a lot as that level 1 player. You're going to die a lot to the creatures that are level 70. My question is, you usually have two choices as that level 1. You either quit because it's hard, or you learn really quickly to get back on that level, to get higher leveled really quickly. So what was that like for you, Chrislyn, kind of trying to, get on Mike's level in a way? I know that doesn't sound the right way, maybe, but, like, you have to learn quick, right? Or quit.
Yeah, she was right on my level right from the start.
Awesome. I love that.
Hear what she's gonna say, like because the stuff she writes, her prose or just pieces that she writes about what she's feeling are very moving to me and have always rang really true. And that's the most important part. I've been doing Nexel songs, but she'd been writing and processing feelings for a long time, and she brought that to the table immediately.
Well, in this metaphor, then maybe you were the level 70. Maybe she was a very subtle level 80. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe.
But to speak to, and thank you for that honor and making sure that was said. But to speak to what you said, Chris, there's also the truth of the fact that in my mind,
That's what I'm referring to. Yes.
my mind, because there's that, there's all the levels, right? Nothing is ever, I really believe in multiplicities, and that two truths can exist at the same time.
Sure.
In a sense, because truth is, sometimes it is in the beholder, right? But then there's truth, and that could send me off another tangent and a rant, and I won't do that. But in my mind, I've always, writing is the only way I survived my life to a certain extent. And I studied, I have a master's and all this stuff, but even though I had all that, it still in my mind did not prepare me to sit down with one of my truly favorite all-time writers. And in my mind, I was a level -10.
Yeah.
Because there's so many ways of that, because in my mind I was deciding that I wasn't a songwriter, I'm a writer, and that all these prepositions and words, but actually none of that's true. That's just a barrier in your mind. And for anyone listening, we all have the ability to maybe not write a novel, maybe not write a #1 whatever, but we all contain the ingredients to express ourselves. It's just that sometimes those abilities are suppressed and silenced. And the thing that Mac did for me was, you know, when we first started writing together in 2020, and he had heard me read. I'd done some public poetry readings in Austin when we started dating, and you know, he knew my poetry, but we didn't start writing songs for like until we were like 2 years in. And I never even attempted that because I was intimidated and terrified of that. Like, and also of what might happen to us. Like we're both sensitive, and if we start doing that together, will that be our demise? You know, somehow, like, and that happened when we started this band. You know, he was encouraging and saying, no, you belong here. You have these things. And I'm sitting there. I was the one like,
Yeah.
you know, he's this rare bird and this rare man creature who does not try to keep me away from anything that I deserve or that is in my grasp, you know, and that's a rare thing. And I truly think that's something that, if I follow this feeling and I speak honestly, one of the reasons that people respond to us the way they do is because it's we're sharing this space. You know, we're one of the greatest problems and the greatest causes of suffering is the flip-flop of the dynamics of the masculine and the feminine, and that you can only be one thing. You can only be completely this or completely that. You cannot come to the middle. And where we try to balance each other out is just to be like all of ourselves, you know, and in that way, he was like, you know, just come to the table and try this. And as we did that, I began to be less afraid. And yeah. And so but sometimes sometimes, like you said, sometimes I might go back to one and he might, or we might both, you know, and it's kind of like always trying to pull each other up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect by that question. I was.
Yeah, no, that opened up Pandora's box in a sense.
Because, like, for me, it is searching that internal self, especially creatively, right? We all have our imposter syndrome, our voices inside of ourselves that are talking us out of the things that we deserve all the time, right? So that outside validation from Mike is going to be so important to you internally to pull yourself up to that spot, especially when you're freaking out because you're a fan of this person already before even entering that dynamic. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's true. It's so true. And you know, it's like in what you just said, that imposter syndrome. I mean, the way our minds can trick us into a lie, you know, it's just it's uncanny in some ways. And sometimes all it takes is the slightest trigger, you know, this slightest old voice of a reminder that says, no, remember, you're not worthy of this.
I always figured, I always attribute it to like trying to pull yourself out of a pit, right? And you might pull yourself out of that pit. You might be right on the precipice there. You've made all of this amazing progress and you've exerted yourself climbing out of that pit. And then you have this small little pebble at the edge of the pit that you just stumble on that pebble and you fall right back into that pit. And
absolutely.
You know what
I
I'm
know
saying?
that pebble.
You know that pebble, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say too that along the lines of imposter syndrome, you know, if you don't feel that every once in a while, then you're not leveling up.
I agree.
You know?
I agree 100%. Yeah. So, I mean, what does it take for you to get over that pebble? Like, you know, get further up that path? Like, does it take outside validation all the time?
Yeah, I think the ultimate goal is to not need that, you know.
Sure.
But, you know, and I guess that imposter syndrome has with some need to be, you know, validated by some outside source, and maybe just to not giving a shit about that at all is the goal.
I think it is, and I think
but
that,
in a kind way, not
I think it always comes back to, and Matt said this earlier, it's like it comes back, or maybe you did, it's the inside, it's the internal. And if we can become truly, I don't mean like delusionally okay with ourselves and all of our horribleness, whatever it may be. Like if you cause people pain and you're okay with yourself, then something's off.
Sure.
But if you're on a path of truly being a good human, and you can begin to find that validation and love and holiness inside, you need someone else's approval less and less. And then you're able to, I think, just practice just protecting that, and when that little trigger, that pebble comes along, honestly, it is so helpful to have someone who wants you also to be in your best condition, to say,
don't step there. Don't step there.
Step there. Step around that. Here it comes. You know where it might be.
Sure.
And you saw me do it.
You saw me do it. And it's like we just need more people being a guide for each other and a friend, and not in competition with each other about
exactly,
who's falling down and who's not, and focusing on people's downfalls. It's like we as humans, we really do worship suffering a little bit too much, instead of what's actually possible if we focused on something better than suffering.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned having a creative relationship. This is another dynamic to all of this that we're talking about, is you guys are going to have separate relationships, creatively, artistically, but also having your personal relationship as well. And you talked about having a little bit of, the word is terror, about how that's going to, is it going to make you fail personally if you struggle creatively? How much of that is on your kind of your peripheral as you're being creative together?
It's I don't know. Sometimes we'll have a little it comes off the rails.
Sure.
We got to go our separate corners and start all over because somebody will be heated about something.
But I don't feel like that usually happens when we're creating.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
The only but we did
recording
is completely
animal,
different.
Yeah.
That's completely different. But in the act of creation,
I think I'm my happiest in that. I love writing songs and creating, making something out of nothing, and that's my favorite part. Way more than performing, way more than recording.
Even though you used to do that for a living.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I picked a strange job for my proclivities.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's, I think it is that part where I joke about this sometimes at shows, but like if we were ever in one of our lockdown fights, I say fight, that's not arguments, but our show, because I don't know how, because we're both so, especially me, I think, because I didn't go seeking this profession, really. This wasn't, this came, and that's a whole other story, but I am only there because I feel like I'm just supposed to be singing and talking about and doing exactly what we're doing. And so it's all about just being so open and like in that realm of giving or something, and the community of it, that if we were in one of our arguments, I don't know, we've never had a show except maybe one where we were kind of, like this, because we wouldn't really, I don't know what we'd do, because it wouldn't be a Crow and Gazelle show, it's like, but it'd be like, damn, I saw Crow and Gazelle and that was tense. But But we generally get locked down just over like, I think probably like anybody. It's sometimes just the mundane. It's like just being exhausted and then one of us getting triggered by the pebble, and then the other one getting upset at the other one because they got triggered by the pebble. And we just are, you take things personal.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I mean, you're bringing personal things to the table, right? Like, I mean, you're writing your heart, your soul, and stuff. So if the other person doesn't get it, like, that's
yeah.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Chrislyn, you talked about kind of being used to being behind the curtain, behind the scenes, stuff like that. And now you are Gazelle. You are one half of this project. And so you're out in front now. What's that like for you? Kind of that role reversal, kind of.
What are you going to say?
She was billed as Giselle McClure one night.
Giselle. I was like, first of all, my last name is not McClure. Second of all, yeah, it has been, wow. It has been a mixed bag is the truth. I guess it's really interesting. It's really been, the imagery of the peeling of the onion or the whatever. It's just been like I just keep walking through another door of being more comfortable and even just I'm still finding my place in it all. I think it's like our second album, which will come out in May, is completely different than our first album in terms of sonically and like what I'm doing on it. And it's just, it's like, I've just got 3 years under my belt and what I'm so grateful for is the knowing and the peace I have that I'm not like, in some ways I wish there's that part where it's like, oh, I wish it hadn't taken us so long to get to this place. But on the other hand, it's right on time because I couldn't have been in this position. I wouldn't have, what I was in my 20s and 30s. I wasn't ready. I couldn't do it. I didn't have the,
you wouldn't have cared for me then.
No, but we wouldn't know. But I personally needed to go through everything that I went through in a different part of life than being a musician and a performer to prepare me for this. I'm talking about imposter syndrome. Man, the worst was like 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, being around certain other women in the industry who I've known for 20 years and me, whether it's true or not true doesn't matter, but me taking on the identity that I didn't belong there because that's not who I am. And I'm not, and all that stuff. And it's like, some different things help me break through that barrier. And I shed that. I let that die because I know that I do belong here. It's just that, because everyone belongs here. If that's where they end up is what I believe. It's like
So that's recorded now, just so you know, that's recorded what you just said. So it's out into the ethos now and you put it there. So I love that for you.
Yeah, it's the table is for everyone, and I, so why not? So now that I've finally accepted that just in the last year, now I'm like, I want to get better at it. Like I want to figure out where I can go with my voice. And I'm studying all these different Irish things and the percussion. And it's like, okay, we're doing it. We've decided we're in this, he's in it. There was a fear that he wasn't in it for me for a while. Cause I'm sitting there going, why would he be in a band with me? He's just in a band with me cause I'm his wife. Why would he be with me when he could do whatever, all that shit. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, okay.
I mean,
'Cause
just listen to the record and you can tell that's not the truth.
yeah. I think I got him now. I think we're in
Yeah.
it. So I just
in.
kind of relax more. Yeah.
This isn't my first new band, after leaving another one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about something that y'all brought up a little bit in the description of the Free to Fly song, and that is growth together as a relationship, as a husband and wife, which is so important, especially as we get older, right? That growth in living for another human being and vice versa is so huge. How have you guys grown together in your individual lives through your collective art?
Oh, it's just made everything more, and more alive, because my favorite thing to do is to create, and my favorite person to do that with is my wife, and that's the odds of that are staggering, and that's been the best part of it. It's it's us against the world in a lot of the ways, and it's like, are we going to drive to Kansas City? Yeah, let's go. And
For one gig, let's hit
yeah,
it. Yeah.
we flew out to New York for one gig to play at the Bitter End, that cool place down in Greenwich Village.
Yeah.
Shit like that. I have a partner in across the board, not only in my personal life and my musical life, and that's all I can ask for, really.
Yeah, and in that way, I think it's off of that and what you asked, Chris. I was one of those people who, and I think a lot of people who have been hurt really bad by other people sometimes take on this notion that there's this idea you don't really need anyone else. Just a love is enough for yourself. And although loving yourself is enough, and it is, there's a thing that I have now understood and realized that I never realized until I've gone through it, that when you do have a partner, and sometimes that can mean a platonic partner. It just means a person, a soul who is willing to go there with you, to go to the fire with you, and to burn off everything that has stood in your way, to light a fire under you, to give you shelter, all the things. That is where, as a human, I've grown the most, because it helped me to let go of so much doubt and a lack of trust, which really made me, I realize now, not trust myself as much as I thought I did. Like, before he came along, I was in this, like, I thought I was the most powerful I had ever been, and it would never get more. And it was just like me, literally me against everything. Because I was done with letting anyone else hurt me again or ruin me. And then now it's like, oh, I have someone to go through all this with, and to help me see things that I cannot see on my own about myself. And so we just keep growing, and there's this, like, I truly hope that I'm like, 85 years old, and he's, what would that make you, 90 something?
126.
And we're like, oh my God, today I feel like I know more than it's like every day to just keep going. There's more to uncover. There's more to uncover.
It's like extra senses, right? It's like having extra senses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, where else can we go in our minds and in our spirits?
And it's holding a mirror up for the other one,
Golly, what a great way of putting it, Mike. Yes.
Yeah, and well, she did that for me in a way which, I'm hideous, and could just hold the mirror up and show me, and instead of just putting me down or whatever, it's like, oh, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
In her, I can do that, and she does that with me too. It's like, do you realize you're doing this? And
yeah, here comes that clip.
Yeah, and at first it drove me nuts because I had so much to work on, and it would just be this constant mirror of.
Well, isn't it funny too that like your ugly can be pointed out, but so can your pretty, right?
Yeah,
So like if you have that person in your life that you just trust wholeheartedly without question, you believe everything they say about you and to you. Sure, they're going to point out you're ugly because there's no fear of reprisal there, but they're also going to point out you're pretty. For my wife, I'll ask questions of myself all the time. Why is this cool thing happening to me? Or, you know, why did this person say yes? And it's her pointing out the pretty because you're good at it, because you deserve it, because these are things that you've worked hard for and you deserve to get them. So it's like balancing that pointing out of the ugly and the pointing out of the pretty for each other, that's really heavy in growth, right?
Absolutely. And that's a beautiful, I've never heard it, put it that way, like pointing out the pretty, but it's like, it's that part where truly if you don't have someone in your life who's more of the time pointing out the good and the pretty, um again, unless you're an asshole and you just maybe,
Right.
but it's like, yeah, we've got to have someone to remind us that we are worthy.
Enough.
You're
enough.
Enough.
That's right.
Enough.
Like
Yeah.
the sign says, you are enough.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Man, I
Yeah.
love that so much, man. And this is what I was talking about earlier in the show about like telling your story. I want to read something from your webpage, and I just want you guys to kind of expound on this because this is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful to me. So I'm going to read this out for folks. I implore you guys to go to the website. It's crowandgazelle.com, all spelled out. We'll put a link in the description below for that. But I'm going to read this. I just want y'all's reaction to this and what it means to y'all. Just expound upon it. Both Mike and Chrislyn were raised in small conservative towns where religion was foundational. But for them, the messages of original sin and the lack of women's voices, let alone power, never quite felt right. The ongoing deconstruction of those messages, of spirituality and of truth, has inspired many of their songs together. While the record is steeped in traditionally religious imagery, honoring the musical ancestry that informs the duo's sound, the themes of As Above, Now So Below, which is the name of the record, y'all, take that language and tease it away towards a kind of openness that looks within rather than without, for purpose and meaning. In its raw vulnerability, the record approaches letting go of control of dangerous and unhelpful dogmas and the fear of the unknown as the path to redemption and liberation. I absolutely love this, but I want to know more. Like, it makes me want to know more about what y'all mean by this.
Oh, I grew up in a church, and my mom took me to church at a First Baptist church when I was young, and then I wound up going with some friends to this Pentecostal church, and Holy Rolled a while, and then the older I got, the more I started reading comparative religion and diving in and taking a look at, so much of it is just shoved down your throat in a way like this is the way, this is the only way, and if you steer from this, you're going to burn in a lake of fire. And that just, when I was younger, I thought that was just true, and so. But as I read more into it and look more into Jesus, what he actually said and did, not all the dogma around it, not Ray Wiley Hubbard's got a great line as I don't concern myself with how Jesus was born or if he was raised from the dead. I believe it comes down to the things he said. And so many more than Judas have betrayed his name. This beautiful ancient wisdom's been prostituted for personal gain. And I see that across the board now, as far as people using Jesus to defend all kinds of stuff and that have hate involved in them. And his main mojo was love. Mm-hmm. And, that resonated when I was younger. And as I've gotten older and deconstructed, like seeing some of these things as mythology, seeing some of these things as allegory, to go through that. And I'm just in a process still. And I probably always will, because it fascinates me, the mystery of it. I love the absolute mystery of what's going on here. and how did we get here and all that. And I just love it being a mystery. I don't need the answer in a way, but I do enjoy looking for the answers. And that's led me to a path of kind of where some of these songs are headed towards. And she's brought into my life and being, a better appreciation of the feminine energy. I have 2 daughters, and I understand it to some degree, but she's really opened my eyes to just how suppressed women's voices were. I mean, they were treated horrible. And
And
Mary
that's where I'm at. It's that right there is so important to me. The way women are kind of suppressed and not allowed to speak, and the word power in that whole paragraph, like women having power is a fearful thing to some people, and it shouldn't be, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and that's the
fear and
as above now so below. Also, just to take a step further back around what Max said, that it's like trying for us, and I think I referenced something about this earlier. It's like, for me, it's like the idea of our human suffering, essentially, on the one hand, I mean, there's so many things, but on the one hand, if you just look at where we're from, I can only speak to what I know, right? And what I know is that I was raised in a culture that told me, from the time I could hear, through the time I could hear and see, it was telling me constantly that I did not belong at the table of knowledge, basically, right? I did not belong there. I belonged over here. I belonged down there. I belonged behind him, not next to him, not in front of him. And all of the things that women receive in a patriarchal religious country, wherever that is, are messages of your disempowerment, your lack, and your unworthiness, and that the suffering that we all experience is your fault. That's the story. And if you're someone like me who's highly sensitive, that shit kills you on the inside.
Absolutely.
Just to look up at an image of a man bleeding and believing that I did that to him killed me as a child. And it took a long time to understand that that's someone else's story. It does not have to mean it's the truth, just because it's what some people believe. And then, with this new album, we've taken it a step further, and it's like continuing this, because I for one truly can say that at one point in time, shame made me try to take my life on more than one occasion. And by letting that go, by letting my lack of worth and go, I now know that it's my mission to make sure I speak into that, because whether consciously or subconsciously, we're all carrying that guilt and shame around. And then you throw in the fact that we're ancestors of, people that have murdered people, it just goes on and on and on. And so this continual suffering that we now find ourselves in, I truly believe, goes back to this myth that we're born as sinners and that it's women's fault. And something in our souls resists that. We're resisting it on a cellular level, and yet we're being controlled by it at the same time. So then we separate, our head and our bodies separate. And that, it's like, so as above, so below. It's like we have to come back to this, that we're all swimming through that same thing of being scarred by something, and not being able to name it, and for many people being afraid to name it. And we both are not afraid to name it anymore, even though for some people, I think about this sometimes, because I have more friends that don't identify as Christian than I do that do. And sometimes I'll hear myself go, why do you need to explain? Or like one of my friends going, why do you need to explain this? And it's like, well, again, this is my experience, and I know from everywhere we go, when this kind of stuff comes up, it either makes someone cry because they are there, or it makes them really uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
which means
Or angry.
it's truth. You know what I mean? It's like,
and it's human nature to ignore the things we don't understand or the things we're afraid of, right? Just
Yeah.
it'll go away. I have a pain in my left leg. It'll go away. It'll be fine. Or
When we get to heaven, when we die, everything will be fine.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But what if we are in heaven and this is
Yeah.
it? And that's the thing. This is it. It's
Yeah.
all here right now.
My belief in that has changed over time into I don't know what.
I mean, it has to, right? We're living every single day. We're experiencing things every day. If your viewpoint on things, especially spirituality, doesn't change over time, then something is wrong.
Yeah, because that's the thing. We're meant to. I think we are. We're meant to just, going back to, sometimes it's a descend, and sometimes it's an ascension, and sometimes, and it's like there's all these layers
Yeah.
of existence, and oh my God, how beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And to be afraid of that, I have complete compassion for people who live in the fear of opening a different book. I really do. But at the same time, no one can save you except yourself.
I agree 100%.
And in that way, then I'm responsible for hopefully helping my sister feel liberated from it. And yeah.
It's that, and then there's the overwhelming desire for people to give the responsibility to their own actions to other people, which is so weird to me, right? Like, I act this way because of this, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. You are responsible for the way you act, and stop giving credit or blame to other folks or other things for that. It's completely up to you to decide how your reaction to those things are. You talked about a new record coming in May. Two things I've noticed you say, Chrislyn, is number one, you said it's completely different, or it's very different from the first record, but you also have said that it's an extension. It's an extension of the first record. So I want to know, how is it the same and how is it different?
Well, what you just read is from our bio and our release of that first record.
The first one, correct.
And the second record is just an extension, really, of those same feelings. It's just got a lot more. It's got a lot
teeth.
more of this. It's got a lot more teeth. And we go deeper, I think, into the imagery and the feelings around all of that. So it's an extension of the same big golden thread that really. All of that spiritual stuff. That's really mostly I would say that's really where we live. We live in the spirit realm as much as we can, to be honest, which is like a really incredible place to create from. And so the new record, which is called Truth Be Told, I think it's Truth Be Told. But as above, now so below, truth be told. And it's just going a step further, and it's like, it to say we were not born in original sin, but original light. It's just got, I think, more grit and more teeth, and there's some, our publicist, the first thing she said in August was, "Oh my God, this is beautiful. And oh my God, this is heavy." Which freaked me out at first, because I think initially that connotation, I was like, oh, that's not good. And then but ultimately it's a heavy time. We're living through a heavy time, and it's been a heavy time, and the record really speaks into that. I feel like it couldn't be more timely when it comes out.
I did not know you guys were even working on a new project. So as a fan, I am so freaking stoked that it's more heavy. I love that a lot. I love that a lot. I want to point out, we did talk about crowandgazelle.com earlier. I do want to give Chrislyn some flowers too. She has her own website. It's called chrislynlawrence.com. You guys, please go check this out. She has incredible stuff going on. I want to thank you for a project that you have done for the past 7 years in cultivating self-love, healing trauma. This is from your website with incarcerated women. So a lot of what we've talked about today internally and imposter syndrome, you are actually helping women with that kind of stuff on almost a molecular level, people that are forgotten and perhaps disposed of, and those are the people that need our help the most, I think, right?
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Sure. So I wanted to give you your flowers on that. Of course, Mike McClure has all of his stuff on everywhere as well, so you guys make sure you're checking him out. But I want to talk about the second song that I've chosen to include, and that's called "The Void." Tell us about this song.
Oh, wow. I remember I was in the Great Divide. This is right about the time we were splitting up the first time. It's the only time we've split up because we're still together. But we were headed out to play some show in Georgia or somewhere, like a drive out there to play a frat party and come back. And it's like, wow. And anyway, I was just sitting in the back of the van, just looking out the road. And that song just kind of came out of nowhere. And that was one that I didn't sit there and think, and most of mine aren't. I'm not thinking something out. I just start, and whatever that weird little mystery is, when they just come through you, I feel like I'm just an antenna for these songs, and sometimes and I can just really get really in tune. Like if I'm off by myself, smoke a little weed, I shift into this place where they just flow. And that was definitely one of those songs. And it's come to mean different things over the time. I really like Neil Young because his lyrics will be abstract and you can paint different pictures at different times of your life with them.
Yeah.
And that's gorgeous to me. And I feel like this is some of that, because everybody's staring into some void until it stares back. And
something interesting about that, because he wrote that way long time ago, and so that was on the first solo album. So the first time I ever heard the name that I'm aware of, Mike McClure, and first time I'd never heard The Great Divide. Maybe I had, but I wasn't aware that it was The Great Divide or anything. But I was like one of the drunk 20-something-year-olds at Larry Joe Taylor Fest. Like this would have been like 2003. And I can remember this. I would walk from the stage back to the porta potties or something, or was walking around, and I heard that song. And I can still, it's like, because the opening guitar on that song, especially when it's electric, and then the words, and then later I sought out who it was, but now it's one of my very favorite songs we do together.
That opening lick was an accident. I was trying to play something and hit a weird chord. I had my hand in the wrong place. I love that.
That's why we do this show. Those little stories, those little happy mistakes that that happen in music and all art, really. Man, so stoked to show this song. It's called "The Void." Y'all check it out.
Headlights, and they cut through the dark on this highway tonight. I'm thinking about what's become of all of my old friends. I'm sliding into the void again. Dismiss my innocence for your original sin. mama, mama, don't make me go. I'm too tired to pretend, so I am sliding into the void again. Angel eyes, she's safe at home under the blue skies. And outside, got the world it waits with its arms open wide. Sliding in into the void again. Dismiss my innocence for your original sin. Hey mama, mama, don't make me go. I'm too tired to pretend, so I'm sliding into the void. I guess I'm sliding into the void again. Dismiss my innocence for your original sin. Hey mama, mama, don't make me go. I'm too tired to pretend, so I am sliding into the void again. Headlights cut through the dark on this highway tonight.
All right, so we are back with Crow and Gazelle, and man, I wish I had about 6 hours with y'all because this is impossible to
I've only
tell.
got a tent out in the
Yeah, we have
backyard.
a yurt.
You got a yurt? Is that what you said?
It's a bell tent, and it looks like a yurt.
Yeah.
Man, I love yurts, man. I watch a lot of off-grid channels, and they build yurts a lot up there in Canada and stuff. So those are interesting videos. We have a bunch of segments called Off the Rails that we're gonna do with y'all. We usually use these as little like Instagram reels and stuff to create buzz for the episode. You guys should have a lot of fun with these. I enjoy asking them, that's for sure. The first one's called Did You Know? So can you guys tell us something we may not know about y'all?
Well,
What do we not know? Oh, she was a college basketball star.
Okay.
Yeah, she played basketball in Hutchinson,
that's
Kansas.
definitely not something people would know. Probably, yeah. I
Set
played.
the 3-point record.
I set a 3-point record in Kansas. I think that's since been passed. Maybe that was.
You don't have to tell that part
Oh,
of
okay.
the story.
Yeah, I played basketball. That's definitely something random.
All right, so
That
Mike just opened himself up, which is a very scary thing to do to your wife. You did her Did You Know? So now she gets to do yours.
Exactly.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Oh shit.
You know what? I'm
Go
gonna
ahead, do it.
No, you're going to say that this is a slam for some reason, probably. But
I already hate it.
did you stay with the theme? He is an amazing tennis player, and he's going to be like, "Why would anybody think I'm not?" But like, you don't present as someone who would want to go run around very fast. Like you're just kind of like you said, you're like da da da. You were playing Bumming Around earlier. Like that's one of your songs. He's like a really, really good tennis player. He shoots really good baskets. Yeah.
I played sports growing up.
Athletics, who would have known? All right, very cool. All right, next segment's called Impactful. This is my absolute favorite question of the show, so just so you guys know that. I want you each to name 3 people that individually impacted your life in some way, and then tell us the number one thing you learned from each of those people.
Guy Clark, when I was in my 20s, or early 20s, I just started writing and wound up in a bar after hours with just me and him and some other guys, and he was playing songs and handed me the guitar, and I played one, and he pretended like he hated it and slumped down in his chair, and I was just crushed, and it was a terrible song, but he was one of my heroes, and I was leaving a little later, and he come up and gave me this hug. He was pretty drunk, and but he said, "You can write." He goes, "You're just not showing your ass." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "When you start writing and really talking about yourself and getting down in here, the audience will feel it, and that realness will reverberate with them." And him telling me that, it was painful to hear as a not so really good songwriter yet, but it was exactly what I needed to hear. And then I started writing inwards instead of looking outwards, and that process is really changed my life. And, as far as trying to find heaven, I go inside, and, Guy, in a rather rude manner, pointed that out to me. And, that changed my writing life. When I was younger, it was Willie Nelson. I was 10 in 1981, and I saw Honeysuckle Rose, the movie. And I just I want to do that. I want to be that guy. And I put a bandana on. And I remember my dad, he didn't really care for men wearing bandanas. He was kind of old 50s coach guy. And anyway, he loved Willie. He had Willie Nelson records too. But
So is that 2, Guy and Willie? You got one more.
Is this anybody or artist? Is this
Anything.
like
Anyway.
anything.
You want me to take one, or you want to rip off
I
your
got
third?
one more. When I was really young, my grandmother, I wrote her a card, and she said, "You can really write. Your words have power."
Whoa.
And I heard that for a long time till I saw Guy. Then it got rocked, and then. Just sometimes one small comment can either crush somebody and ruin them.
Yeah.
Ruin them. And an offhanded comment that somebody didn't even mean can ruin somebody. But also one kind word, one kind sentence can lift someone up and give them some, give them some power.
My wife and I have a mantra that anytime we go out in public, we have to be kind to at least one person. Just go out of our way, find somebody. We love your hair, your shoes are awesome. I love your smile. Just something personal with that person. And my wife, that's one of the things I've grown, and my wife taught me that, so that's, and our kids all do it now too. It's so cool to see.
That's great.
Generational.
Balance out, like you said, balance out the ugly in people's lives with some pretty.
Absolutely.
So if you're in a bad mood, is it like, "Nice hair, lady," and then done?
No, not at all. All right, your turn.
Well, I'm going to pick off that thread of sometimes people can, would you say ruin you? Sure. I want to give thanks to someone who at the time I thought ruined me. Who, man, there have been so many, I have made so many turns in my life, like immense. I've lived in like 20 different places. Until we got together, I never lived anywhere more than a year, since I was 18. But when I was leaving college, I had studied English and psychology, and I really thought I wanted to be a psychologist, and got accepted to TCU's doctoral program or something. Anyway, I had to do this thing as part of the interview, and I got this meeting with this person, and they straight up told me, they were like, "I don't know what you're thinking. You don't belong. You don't belong here. you feel too much. I don't know that you should do this, and at the time it was like I was building my whole existence around thinking I was supposed to go this certain path, because some people had opened some doors for me, and it wasn't that they said you can't come in, but it was like it was the truth. I felt way too much, and then that same person knew that they were like, you're a great writer, but anyway, so I shifted and went the writing route, and I've thought before, like, would I have made my way around? Maybe, yes. I wouldn't have stopped writing, but I would have tried to stick out something really miserable that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So thank you. I thought I would never forget that woman's name, but it escapes me. Okay. Also impactful. Well, I gotta say, my mom, not always easy, not always, on the same side. And I grew up seeing, some of the things that I honestly carried as a young woman came from seeing my mom's relationship with my dad, but what she finally did, was left a situation that was not good for her, when I was 18. And I know in some way by actually witnessing her take her power, subtly told me something, even though I went on to suffer other things, because of thinking I needed men to make me, powerful instead of finding it myself. She did that. And then she also, to this day, I would just talk to her earlier today. That's why it's so prevalent. Like, she is in her mid 60s, deconstructing and looking at her life as well, and all the spiritual things and the identity that she was raised to look at things a certain way and ignore certain things. And she has chosen the difficult route of going against the flow. And really, she's done that her whole life. And she instilled that in me. I'm going to miscount 3. I have 5 adopted brothers, and 4 of them have special needs, that were orphans, actually. And she's amazing. She's amazing. So there's that. And then, I don't want to make you feel bad because I'm going to say you, because, just the stuff we said earlier, because if I sit here, I could come up with a lot of other things, and there's a lot of people, but when I sit here in this space, by having someone, just speak and breathe life into me, it's impacted every part of my life, including my relationship with my mom.
I was just going to say, man, that's almost like an extension to what your mom taught you, that it's okay to not allow that in your life. And then when you see it coming into your life in an opposite, more positive way, it's like, wow, it's okay to walk away from the negative and seek out the positive, because here is the positive.
Absolutely. And and run towards it
Absolutely.
instead of running away from it.
Again, it comes down to that internal voice, making sure that you deserve it, right? And trying to talk yourself, I don't deserve this positivity. I don't deserve this man or this woman. Like, you're going to tell yourself that repeatedly. Like, I've been with my wife for 11 years. I still internally don't believe I deserve her, So
you have to be reminded, because you do.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, next one. I love this question too. Who is one artist that each of you wishes the whole world knew about?
Ooh. One artist that I wish.
I'm going to say Tanarawan. She turned me on to it's this, where are they from?
They're from the Sahara. I think they're from, I can't think of what country technically, but North Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, and they travel around, and they're out in the desert, and they'll set up and have generators and set up in their tent and jam. And then, they come to America and have played with Red Hot Chili Peppers and just really, I don't know what they're saying, but I love it.
Man, you don't need to, bro. Like we're dealing with all this Bad Bunny stuff right now, guys. For for later on. Yeah, you don't need to know. Like you don't need to know.
You need to feel it. Yeah,
That's
and
right.
actually, that's a good segue because they we love them so much. But a little bit of them bleeded over into this new record. So there's a little tease.
Sweet.
There's a tease. Yeah, desert rock.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Okay. No?
Yeah.
All right, Chrislyn, what about your answer?
Oh man. This can be known or unknown. Golly, that's so hard. I guess, man, I sound like I'm beating a drum here, and I think a lot of people know this person now, but I'm just gonna say what's risen up. Her name's Allison Russell. You probably know, Chris.
Of course, yeah.
But I think a lot of people, I don't know if people in the more red dirt vein that some of your viewers, but she, I knew her when she was with the Birds of Chicago, her and her partner's band, and but now she's someone who her life really, really, really beat her down and could have ruined her. And
she's from Canada too. She's Canadian. Yeah.
She rose above it, but I can remember seeing her with Birds of Chicago, and even though she was so powerful, it's like something about once she started speaking her truth through her debut solo album and speaking into her survivorship and her truth, everything that was on top of her that was keeping her a little more like, it's like now she's just living proof of the power of a woman being allowed to speak their truth. Yep. And her songs and her music, it's just really really beautiful.
Good stuff. I love that answer. Good stuff. All right, next segment's called What the Heck. This is kind of a silly segment. Can be a little deeper too, but it's kind of like a game show. I'm just going to hit you with 5 random questions, and I want you guys to just tell me the first thing that hits your mind, okay?
Oh.
All right, number 1, what's the scariest animal?
Honey badger.
Oh.
What a great answer.
That is a great answer.
Dude, it's terrifying.
Number 2. All right, go ahead.
I'm going to say, man, I tell you what is pretty scary.
No, you got it right. It's man, 100%.
Man. Done.
You got it. Yep. All right, number 2, what word do you each have a hard time pronouncing?
Oh, boy. Man, I get like words like mixed around. You say, what's one that you think I have a hard time saying or I like fumble over?
A bunch. It's hard to narrow it down. Flabbergasted. We were trying to do this Van Morrison song, and I was trying to sing it at first. She sings it now, but it's
probably because you couldn't say that word.
Flabbergasted by the headlines.
You got it now.
And I would kept saying fiberglassed.
Oh wait!
Fiberglass.
Now this isn't necessarily pronunciation, but for the life
That's
of
just
me,
wrong word.
I cannot and will not ever say a wide girth is what I say.
Yeah, you need to give that a wide girth. I'm like, I don't think you know what you're asking for.
But listen, I grew up, and I'm still not convinced I'm not also right.
Because you don't give something a wide girth.
But listen, I grew up on a ranch riding horses, and all I can think is like, but that's not
not a girth.
This is why we call it What the Heck, y'all. All right, number 3. Why do you think why do you think McDonald's doesn't serve hot dogs?
Man, something to do with that clown.
I think that deep down they're water conservationists, and they realize how much water it would take. Also, maybe not water conservationists, but think about who's going to be in charge of changing out the like hot dog weenie water?
Hot dog. My wife hates when I leave that on the stove. Just so.
Oh, it's the worst. That's all I'm imagining. So I think it's just
Hot
too
dog
much.
wiener water.
Definitely a
too
pet peeve of hers is my hot dog weenie water.
much.
You tell me that's not a song title, hot dog weenie water.
Hot dog weenie water.
All right, number
Definitely
4. Now this is a very scientific question, and I'm sure people out there may want to know your opinion on this. Now, if 4 out of 5 people suffer from diarrhea, does that mean that the 5th person enjoys it?
Yes.
Wow, never heard that.
And that one dentist that's like, you don't got to brush everything.
All right, last one of what the heck. If one synchronized swimmer drowns, what do you think happens to the rest of them?
I think they drown or they lose points.
I think so, yeah.
Synchronized swimmer. I think they've got an alternate on the sideline. I believe in hope. There's an alternate that knows, that has memorized, and they just
an understudy, so to speak.
But wait, an understudy, and they make a wide girth, and he jumps in and starts doing it.
I don't know. Sounds like she might be flabbergasted to me. Yeah. All right. That was What the Heck with Crow and Gazelle. Good stuff right there. All right. If you guys could be a fly on the wall in any room in history, what would it have been? Where would you like to be?
Oh, fly on the wall.
Man. I'm like, do I want to go to a dark place or a light place?
I immediately went dark, then I went light.
I think I did too.
Fly on the wall somewhere. Any time period.
Yep, anywhere.
Anywhere. Oh, I'd like to go back to ancient Egypt when the pyramids were rocking.
I was gonna say that, but then I want to see Stonehenge put together.
Very cool.
I'm like, and so yeah, I'll be a fly on the mossy tree over there.
Good
like,
stuff. Love to see it. All right.
Wow,
the definition of gratitude is the quality of being thankful or the readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. So what are the 3 things you are each most grateful for?
I am most grateful, of course, for her. I'm most grateful my children are cool and happy. And we have a great relationship. And that I get to do this for a living. You know, I've since I was 21, it's the only job I've had, and I'm 54 now. And all those years have just been, I wouldn't say easy because some of them beat the hell out of me, but I got to do what I wanted to do. And shit, that's the best.
That is the best. Okay, sincerely, I'm grateful for people like you. I like for the connection, for the opportunity, not because you like our music but because conversation. I'm grateful for understanding that happens when people reach across and just talk. So I'm grateful for those kinds of opportunities. Definitely grateful for him. I'm grateful to be alive right now. Literally, and also now, I think it's on the one hand, it's utterly like conflicting and terrifying time in the sense of, lots of things. We could go lots of places. It just is. But to be alive when there is an opportunity to help kind of right where we're going. And as community, as humans who could kind of hit the brakes for a minute and go, as all this shit's falling apart and being shown for what it really is and what's really going on, within the powers that be and this country and the world, to be alive when you have the opportunity to know what's going on, because we have more access to things than really we should, because it's too much. But we can, like, you can be a part of actually making the world better.
Change.
I mean, like literally, you can literally do something to make someone else's life better by just being alive right now, and being aware enough to create action and to try and make the world better.
Love it.
And yeah, so it seems like a time to be grateful to just be here.
I love that. All right, last segment. I appreciate y'all's time so much.
Yeah,
for this.
thank you. This is nice.
All right, last segment is called "Who Do You Think You Are?" So, who is Crow and Gazelle?
Crow and Gazelle. It's a story of two people that were friends a long time ago that grew closer and closer. And yeah,
that's it. That's it. Get to grow.
And continue to search together and document. You know, we started doing this is off subject, but started doing a YouTube series, and we've done 10 in a row every Tuesday, and it goes live. There's no editing, and I get really self-conscious, and you know, so I'm kind of learning how to be okay with being on camera. And you know, now that I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about it. But you know, it's continuing to grow and try things that are terrifying. You know, I don't want to just go out and sing songs I wrote 30 years ago. I want to keep finding something new to be excited about and scared of. You know, I don't want to be complacent, and as much as I can buck being recorded and doing all that, I know it's an important part of how you get, you know, music out these days. And that's been, I still like not knowing what I'm doing, and being clumsy at something, and falling down in front of people. You know, you get over that one time, you're all right, you get back up. You know, I've done that with music. I can go out and fall flat on my face. I've just played forever, but you know, actually trying to get down to talking about what we've been sitting here talking about, you know, that it wasn't always easy, and it's getting easier. And you know, I forget the question now, but I
want to say no. That's all. What he said, Crow and Gazelle. I think what we are, we're seekers. We're seekers. I think that's it's like we're seeking the next layer, and then trying to find some understanding in that.
It's more windshield and less rear view mirror.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, please. Yep. In the present. I want to be in the present as much as I can. Yeah.
I love that so much. I've got a lot to unpack here. We're going to put a lot of stuff in the description for you guys out there. First and foremost, crowandgazelle.com, all spelled out. The new record's going to be out in May, and we think it's going to be called Truth Be Told. So be looking out for that. Of course, you guys keep getting that old record. Stream it, As Above, Now So Below. One of the best records ever put together, in my opinion, and you guys really need to check it out. So take about 45 minutes and go down that wormhole, guys. You won't be disappointed with it. Chrislyn's website is chrislynlawrence.com. We're going to make sure that's down there as well. And Mike McClure's MikeMcClureBand.com, where you can get all of that information as well. I appreciate you guys for coming on, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We're so grateful. Thank you.
Hey everybody, this is Susan Gibson, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Boston Chris podcast.